Millionaire finds homeless girl unconscious in alley. Her shocking words change everything. Alex Monroe had just closed the biggest deal of his life. His sharp suit was soaked from the relentless Chicago rain, and the city lights blurred into streaks behind the droplets on his glasses. He felt the usual rush, a jolt of victory. But beneath it all, an emptiness he wasn't ready for. The streets buzzed with life, but Alex's world had gone suddenly quiet, as if the city's heartbeat no longer matched his own. Looking for a breath, he cut through a narrow alley, a shortcut he rarely took. The cold mist wrapped around him, sharp and biting. Trash bins overflowed with scraps, graffiti screamed on cracked walls, and the wet concrete reflected the flickering neon signs like broken mirrors. The alley reeked of forgotten things and lost people. But then his eye caught something strange. There, crumpled in a shadow just beyond the dumpster, lay a girl, young, no more than 16 wit. Still, a fallen figure swallowed by the decay around her. Alex's breath hitched, chest tightening. He knelt fast, fingers trembling as he shook her gently. "Hey, can you hear me?" His voice cracked, echoing oddly off the grimy brick walls. Her eyes fluttered open, glassy but sharp. Then, something impossible. She whispered, barely audible, words so strange they stopped Alex's heart. "You don't know who you really are, Alex. The shadows aren't where you think they hide. They're inside you." A lump rose in his throat. The city noise muffled suddenly, like the world had slid into sharp focus on the girl beneath him. A soft groan from somewhere down the alley snapped him back. He wanted to call for help, rush her to safety. But that voice, those words, there was something more. Something dangerous, something dark and buried in mystery. His mind spiraled. Secrets? Shadows inside him? What was she talking about? His empire, his life, everything he'd built felt fragile, threatened by the faint rasp of that strange warning. Alex stared, caught in the rain-soaked silence. Around them, the city's hum pulsed again, distant sirens wailing. The little girl blinked up at him, eyes wide and burning with a story waiting to be told. Could he even trust her? Or was this a trap? A message from a part of his past he'd tried to bury. His fingers stayed on her shoulder. The cold mist wrapped tighter. His mind screamed. Call for help or follow the trail of those haunting words. And as the rain kept falling, Alex Monroe knew something in his world had just cracked wide open. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just quickly check that red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're at it, leave that powerful like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Alex stayed frozen, his fingers resting lightly on the girl's shoulder. Rain dripping off his sleeves, into the grimy puddles. Her words burned inside. Not here. He looked closer. Her eyes flickered. Fragile, but fierce. She was alive, barely, and maybe the first person in a long time who had shaken him out of his own haze. "Who are you?" he asked, voice low but urgent. His heart pounded, cold mist curling in his chest. She coughed, then whispered, I'm the one you lost." Her voice cracked, like raw edges of a secret too heavy to carry. Alex's head jerked up. "Lost? What are you talking about?" His breath hitched, rain washing uneven trails down his face. Then, suddenly, the alley exploded into light. A flare of blinding neon cut through the dark. A sharp noise, glass shattering. People's shouts echoed from the street behind him. Alex spun, holding the girl tighter. A man stepped through the mist, tall, familiar. His suit was stained, and beneath his sharp smile was something colder, sharper. It didn't take a second for Alex to recognize him. Matthew Kane, his oldest friend, the one he thought dead 5 years ago. Matthew's eyes burned with anger and something darker, like years of buried pain ready to break loose. "You should have stayed gone, Alex," he snarled. Alex stumbled back, heart pounding. "Matthew, I thought you were dead." Matthew laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Dead? No, just forgotten. Just hidden." The girl in Alex's arms clutched tighter, whispering again, "You don't remember, but you will, soon." Before Alex could speak, Matthew's hand shot out, pulling a small device from his pocket. A flash of light, and suddenly, Alex's vision burst into white noise. His legs went weak. The world spun, sounds warping into distant echoes. When his eyes cleared, the girl was gone. All that remained was a folded piece of paper pressed into his palm. His fingers trembled as he unfolded it. The note was simple, but its message shattered everything Alex thought he knew. "I'm your daughter." Alex's breath hitched. "Daughter?" His mind slammed against the impossible. Matthew's voice cut through the buzzing alley. "You buried the past, Alex, but the past buried you first." His chest tightened. The rain blurred the edges of Matthew's face as he stepped closer, eyes full of accusation. "How could you not know?" Matthew spat. "How could you let her vanish while you built your empire on lies?" Alex wanted to scream, to run with the girl, with the questions gnawing at him. But the weight of the note crushed him, dragging him into a new reality, where his secrets weren't just shadows inside him. They were monsters, waiting to tear everything down. The city hummed around them again. Distant sirens rose like ghosts. And now, Alex Monroe had more than a deal to close. He had a truth to face. A daughter lost in the dark. A friend turned enemy. And a shadow deeper than he ever imagined. The girl's last words echoed again in his mind. "You don't know who you really are, Alex." But now, maybe he didn't even know who he thought he was. The rain kept falling. The alley held its breath, And Alex wondered how much of his life was real and how much was a lie built to keep the truth buried forever. Alex's fingers trembled as he stared at the folded note in his palm. "I'm your daughter." The words burned into his skin, cold and wild. Matthew's glare cut through the rain like a blade. Hate, pain, accusation, pressing in on him from every angle. But before Alex could gather his thoughts, the distant wail of sirens grew louder, closer. The city felt sudden, pressing, unforgiving. Then, a sharp noise. A gunshot cracked the humid air. Alex's breath caught. His heart stuttered. Matthew's eyes flicked toward the street, a flash of steel glinting under the streetlight. Before Alex knew what was happening, Matthew lunged forward, pushing him behind a dumpster, just as bullets erupted into the shadows around them. The girl's gasp cut through the chaos. Alex crouched, soaked, breath ragged, ears ringing. A car screeched, screeching around the corner toward the alley, tires spitting water. Then, through the fog and gunfire, something impossible happened. The girl, the one Alex thought fragile and lost, suddenly twisted in his arms. Her eyes shot open, wilder, fiercer. Something in her shifted. Her limbs jerked, contorted, strength surging beneath thin skin. She yanked a hidden blade from her soaked jacket, swift and deadly. She sliced through the air, striking at two shadowy figures rushing toward them. Both dropped instantly, the street echoing with thudding crashes. Alex stared, frozen. What are you?" he managed. Her voice dropped low, voice no longer weak, but sharp as shattered glass. "I'm the truth you buried so deep, the one you never wanted to see." His head reeled. Matthew growled from nearby, wiping blood from his face, voice raw. "You don't get it, Alex." His eyes locked on the girl. "She's not your daughter. Not really." The words hit like a punch. Alex's fingers clenched the note. His daughter? Or a lie? The girl's gaze flicked toward Matthew, eyes feral. "You lied to yourself to keep the monster hidden," she hissed. "But it's out now." Alex noticed then. Her eyes weren't just fierce. Something else flickered beneath, glowing faintly, like embers trapped in ice. Her skin seemed almost unnatural. Suddenly, the streetlights flickered violently. The rain stopped mid-air, a frozen moment. A deep, unnatural hum filled the alley. Matthew stepped forward, voice low but steady. "Alex, you never built that empire alone. You made a deal, gave up something or someone. The shadows inside you aren't metaphor. They're a curse. And she," he pointed to the girl, "is its living proof." Alex's chest tightened. Pain surged like ice water. "I don't understand," he gasped. Matthew swallowed hard, voice breaking. "She's not your daughter. She's your other half." Silence swallowed the alley. Alex blinked, heart pounding. A sudden memory slammed into him. Fragments of a second self, erased from his mind. A reflection not seen, but always there. a dark seed planted deep in his soul. The girl stepped closer, voice shaking but fierce. I'm you, the real you, the part you tried to kill. The world spun. You don't know who you are because you aren't whole. Alex's legs nearly gave out. The rain started again, sharper, colder. Matthew's gaze fell on Alex's shaking hands. You've been fighting yourself all along, and now she's back to finish what you started. Fear and disbelief crashed together. Alex wanted to scream, to run, but the alley closed in. The city lights dimmed. The girl's voice broke the quiet once more, whispering into the storm. Face me, Alex, or lose everything again. And with that, she reached out, not with anger, but with a desperate hope, like a lifeline thrown across a bottomless pit. Alex swallowed hard, because for the first time, he wasn't sure where he ended and where she began. The past wasn't behind him. It was inside him, alive. And now the real fight was just beginning. Alex's fingers trembled as he stared at the folded note in his palm. I'm your daughter. The words burned into his skin, cold and wild. Matthew's glare cut through the rain like a blade. Hate, pain, accusation, pressing in on him from every angle. But before Alex could gather his thoughts, the distant wail of sirens grew louder, closer. The city felt sudden, pressing, unforgiving. Then, a sharp noise. A gunshot cracked the humid air. Alex's breath caught. His heart stuttered. Matthew's eyes flicked toward the street, a flash of steel glinting under the streetlight. Before Alex knew what was happening, Matthew lunged forward, pushing him behind a dumpster, just as bullets erupted into the shadows around them. The girl's gasp cut through the chaos. Alex crouched, soaked, breath ragged, ears ringing. A car screeched, screeching around the corner toward the alley, tires spitting water. Then, through the fog and gunfire, something impossible happened. The girl, the one Alex, her eyes shot open, wilder, fiercer. Something in her shifted. Her limbs jerked, contorted, strength surging beneath thin skin. She yanked a hidden blade from her soaked jacket, swift and deadly. She sliced through the air, striking at two shadowy figures rushing toward them. Both dropped instantly, the street echoing with thudding crashes. Alex stared, frozen. What are you? He managed. Her voice dropped low, voice no longer weak, but sharp as shattered glass. I'm the truth you buried so deep, the one you never wanted to see. His head reeled. Matthew growled from nearby, wiping blood from his face, voice raw. You don't get it, Alex. His eyes locked on the girl. She's not your daughter. Not really. The words hit like a punch. Alex's fingers clenched the note. His daughter. Or a lie? The girl's gaze flicked toward Matthew, eyes feral. You lied to yourself to keep the monster hidden. she hissed. "But it's out now." Alex noticed then. Her eyes weren't just fierce. Something else flickered beneath, glowing faintly, like embers trapped in ice. Her skin seemed almost unnatural. Suddenly, the street lights flickered violently. The rain stopped mid-air. A frozen moment. A deep, unnatural hum filled the alley. Matthew stepped forward, voice low but steady. "Alex, you never built that empire alone. You made a deal, gave up something or someone. The shadows inside you aren't metaphor. They're a curse. And she," he pointed to the girl, "is its living proof." Alex's chest tightened. Pain surged like ice water. "I don't understand," he gasped. Matthew swallowed hard, voice breaking. "She's not your daughter. She's your other half." Silence swallowed the alley. Alex blinked, heart pounding. A sudden memory slammed into him. Fragments of a second self erased from his mind. A reflection not seen, but always there. A dark seed planted deep in his soul. The girl stepped closer, voice shaking but fierce. "I'm you, the real you, the part you tried to kill." The world spun. "You don't know who you are because you aren't whole." Alex's legs nearly gave out. The rain started again, sharper, colder. Matthew's gaze fell on Alex's shaking hands. "You've been fighting yourself all along, and now she's back to finish what you started." Fear and disbelief crashed together. Alex wanted to scream, to run, but the alley closed in. The city lights dimmed. The girl's voice broke the quiet once more, whispering into the storm. "Face me, Alex, or lose everything again." And with that, she reached out, not with anger, but with a desperate hope, like a lifeline thrown across a bottomless pit. Alex swallowed hard, because for the first time, he wasn't sure where he ended and where she began. The past wasn't behind him. It was inside him, alive. And now, the real fight was just beginning. Then the world shattered. A sudden jerk tore Alex's vision apart. The alley warped, rippled like broken glass. The girl's extended hands slipped through him, as if she was made of smoke. Alex stumbled back. "What?" He gasped, eyes wide. Matthew's face twisted in shock. "No, this can't be." Behind him, the ground cracked open with a deafening roar, a jagged fissure splitting the alley. It swallowed trash bins, dripping graffiti, even part of the brick wall. From the chasm rose a pale light, harsh and blinding. And rising within it, another figure. Alex froze, heart pounding so loud it felt like it would burst his ribs. The man stepped forward, breathing slow, eyes sharp, calm. But it wasn't Matthew. It wasn't the girl. It was him, Alex Monroe, or what looked like him. Only this one wore no suit, no tie, No veneer of control. This shadow, Alex's eyes, were hollow, empty, like a corpse's. The girl gasped and backed away. Matthew's mouth opened, words caught. The double tilted his head, voice cold and dead. You're all just puppets, dancing to a song you'll never understand. Alex shook his head, panic rising. Who are you? The shadow smiled, twisted, cruel. I'm the truth you ran from, the one you hid deep in your empire's foundations, the real monster. And then the shock hit like ice water. From his coat pocket, the shadow pulled out the folded note, the same note Alex held. But on it, written now in a furious red, was a name. Not daughter, not you're not whole, but I'm your father. Alex's blood turned cold. Matthew's eyes flared with burning rage. The girl stared, trembling. The city muffled. Because everything Alex thought he knew, who he was, his past, even his daughter, crumbled with that message. His father, alive, near, a shadow, trapped inside the man he became. Alex's breath caught. The alley waited. The rain stopped falling. And the real nightmare was only just waking. The alley fell into a heavy silence. The sudden stop of the rain hung in the air like a held breath. Alex's heart hammered so loud he was sure everyone around could hear it. Shadows stretched, long and hollow, across the cracked pavement, but none dared move. The shadow version of Alex, pale, empty-eyed, cold, stood still, clutching that twisted note like a weapon. The red ink glared under the flickering streetlight. I'm your father. Alex's hands shook. The name hit him like a fist. His father alive? Here? In that dark mess of a place? With Matthew and the girl who bled secrets and knives? Matthew's eyes burned with a crazy kind of anger. It's a lie, he spat, voice sharp. You think this thing could be your father? That's madness. The girl, still tense in Alex's arms, looked from the shadow to Matthew, eyes wild but scared. He's real, more real than any of you want to admit. Alex didn't know what to believe. Everything inside him screamed to run, to fight, to break this nightmare down into pieces and never look back. But then, something broke the tension. A sudden, low rumble. From inside the cracked alley walls, the brick and mortar seemed to shiver, groaning as if breathing underground. Before anyone could react, the ground split in a jagged crack beneath their feet. The alley threw itself open like a wound. Light burst upward, blinding, pure. Alex was thrown back, hitting the hard wall. Pain lanced through his side. He gasped, trying to catch air. From the glowing chasm rose a figure. Not the shadow, not Matthew, not the girl. It was a woman. Tall, pale, but glowing from some strange white fire within her skin. Her eyes were as dark as the void, but alive, pulsing with some deep, deep sadness. She moved toward them with slow, impossible grace. The alley seemed to shrink around her, swallowed by cold silence. Alex's breath hitched, chest tightening like it was caught in a vice. Matthew's jaw dropped, his usual fury drained, replaced by a mixture of terror and respect. The girl in Alex's arms trembled, clutching him harder. "You don't remember her?" the woman said. Her voice was soft, but echoed as if coming from far away. "She's why you lost more than just your past." Alex blinked, confused, pain and cold twisting together in his gut. "Who?" he croaked. The woman reached out, hand trembling. "Your mother." The words shattered the world. Matthew stumbled back like he'd been hit. The girl whispered, voice cracking. She was always here, watching, waiting. Alex's fingers dug into his palms. His chest burned hot, then dropped deep with cold dread. "Mom?" he repeated, voice barely there. "But you're dead." "No." Her eyes glowed brighter. "I was never alive, not like you think." Suddenly, hundreds of faint whispers flooded the alley. Voices, some angry, some desperate, some broken, rose from the cracks at their feet. The woman's glow flickered, almost like a warning. Then she did the impossible. Her form shattered. Fractured light spilled in all directions. From her broken pieces, dozens of tiny figures emerged, shadowy, twisted. They swirled, rising, circling the group like ghosts unleashed. Matthew growled, stepping toward them, fists clenched. Alex dropped to his knees, gasping as cold hands seemed to grab at his soul. "Your father isn't alive," the woman's echo whispered around them, "because he never existed. The man you feared, the empire you built, the lies you live, they're a prison." Alex's head snapped up, eyes wild with pain and confusion. "Then who am I?" The girl stepped forward from his arms, voice sharp and broken. "You're not Alex Monroe." A stunned gasp escaped Matthew. Alex's heart cracked wide open. The light figures twisted, morphing into dozens of fractured faces, each one a version of Alex. Some smiling, some screaming, some lost in shadow. The woman's final words cut through the chaos like a knife. "You're a fragment. A splinter of a soul too broken to heal. The empire, the deals, the daughter, their stories to keep you distracted, to keep you from the truth buried deep beneath your skin." The alley grew cold. The rain started again, soft, steady. Alex wiped the stinging wet from his eyes, voice raw. "Then who was I? And what the hell am I now?" Silence swallowed them. Only the whispers remained. Soft echoes of a man who never fully existed. And the alley waited, because some truths are worse than any lie. And Alex Monroe was about to find out just how deep the darkness could go. Alex's chest tightened. The whispers hum heavy in the cold air, crawling beneath his skin like ice fingers. His fingers fumbled, wiping rain from his stinging eyes as the pale, fractured faces swirled in the dim light. If none of this is real, then who was I? His voice cracked, raw with desperation. The alley stayed silent, refusing to offer answers. Then a shout shattered the stillness. Enough! The woman's voice, deep and trembling, rang out like a bell. The glowing figure, the woman who called herself his mother, stepped forward, her eyes burning with a fierce sadness. You want truth? Fine. She reached out suddenly, and the fractured faces exploded, vanishing like smoke in the wind. Then, in the blink of an eye, everything changed. The ground beneath them gave a violent shudder. The city noises, a dull hum, sirens, distant chatter, snapped back to life. Alex stumbled, barely catching himself on the cracked wall. Suddenly, from the far end of the alley, a flash of pain. A scream cut through the heavy air. Alex turned sharply, heart pounding in his throat. There, under the flickering neon light, stood a man. Tall, shadowed, face hidden beneath a soaked hood. His hands clenched tight. Without warning, he aimed a sharply gleaming gun straight at Alex's chest. Stop. The voice was familiar, deep, broken, impossible. Alex's hand shot out instinctively. The gun fired. The sound tore through the alley like a thunderclap. Alex's body convulsed, everything blurred. Pain exploded in his chest, hot and sharp. His knees buckled. The man dropped the gun and pulled back his hood, and Alex froze. It was him. Only older, worse. His own face stared back, lined and scarred, eyes hollow and full of something darker than death. I'm not your past, the man said with a bitter laugh. I'm your future. Alex gasped, every breath searing. His vision dimmed, voices echoing in his head. Matthew staggered, whispering, "It's impossible. No, it can't be." The girl blinked, stepping forward, voice trembling but fierce. Time's been lying. That man? That's you, Alex. What you'll become. The shadow you feared, and the monster you're destined to be. Alex's world flipped upside down. His mind hammered with confusion and terror. How? Why? He croaked, blood wet on his lips, burning. The future self smiled, vicious and cruel. You buried the truth deep. But I'm the result, the endgame of lies, deals, darkness. He gestured with a shaky hand toward Alex's chest, where the bullet had struck, where pain screamed. Your empire collapsed before it rose. Your daughter? A ghost born from your fracture. Your friends? Just echoes you'll lose one by one. Alex's legs shook. A heavy sob broke free, raw and shaking. The alley air thickened. Matthew pulled Alex back, whispering with tears and rage. Fight it. Fight him. Fight yourself. But the future self leaned in, voice a chilling whisper. There's no fight left, only surrender. The girl gasped, her eyes flashed. Then, suddenly, the fractured space around them cracked wide like breaking glass. The glowing woman flickered, becoming unstable with an agonizing scream. And all at once, the alley was flooded by a blinding light. Alex's mind shattered. Memories shattered. He saw himself, many versions, every mistake, every loss, every hidden lie rushing at him in a flood. Then, darkness swallowed everything. When Alex came to, the alley was silent, empty, cold. No Matthew, no glowing woman, no girl, just an empty note in his trembling hand. He unfolded it slowly. The message? Gone. Blank. Alex looked up, his own reflection caught in the puddle before him. But it wasn't his face. It was the future's, and it was smiling. The rain started again, cold and unrelenting. Alex Monroe's world had cracked wide open. But the nightmare wasn't over. It was just beginning. Alex stared at the puddle, heart pounding hard enough to hear in his ears. His reflection shimmered, twisted, colder. The future's grin felt like a punch in the gut. The rain fell again, relentless and sharp, tapping a slow, cold rhythm on the cracked pavement. For a long moment, nothing stirred. Just the wet silence, dripping from fire escapes, pooling beneath broken glass. Then, a sudden jolt. The note in his hand sparked, flickering like a living thing. Lines of bright red spread across the paper, coiling, twisting. The letters shifted and morphed until one word burned through the mist. Remember. Alex blinked, throat tight, fingers frozen. Remember what? His own voice sounded strange to him, soft, shaky. Behind him a sound creaked, the alley's back door. It crashed open. A flood of pale light spilled out, blinding in the dim night. Alex turned, heart in his throat. From the doorway stepped not one, but a dozen shadows, their shapes swirling and converging. Then they snapped into focus. Faces he knew, not just strangers. They were people from his life. His mother, eyes fierce and steady, but pale like the woman he had seen moments ago. Matthew, more ragged now, but eyes harder, cold smile gone. The girl, standing tall and whole, not frail or broken, but vivid and real as a storm. And then, a figure stepped from the shadows, not the future Alex, not the past, but a familiar face Alex never expected to see. Not alive, not here, his own face, only younger, calmer, eyes clear. Alex. The voice came from that figure, steady, filled with pain. You've been asleep. All this time, Alex gasped. Who? How? The younger Alex stepped closer, reaching out. I am you, the real you, the part you buried so deep even your future feared to touch. Alex's chest tightened. But the others, they said, they lied. The other Alex shook his head slowly. This isn't your curse. It's a prison they built. A fake story to keep you locked in fear, stuck chasing ghosts. The alley felt like it tightened, air thick with electricity. Then, the most impossible truth crashed down. The girl, the one saying she was his daughter, his other half, stepped forward, voice raw and broken, trembling like a child. "We're not different. We're the same." Alex's breath caught. The younger Alex's eyes darkened. "They told you she's your daughter, your shadow. They lied. She's not from your future. She's your past. The part of you killed once to save yourself." A scream tore from Alex's throat. The girl nodded, tears shining. "Our memories are patched, twisted. You erased us both to survive." Matthew staggered backward, stunned. "Wait, what the hell?" he spat. "You mean she's not your daughter?" "No." The younger Alex stepped between them. "She's me, the Alex who lived when you died, the one you buried alive." The rain stopped again, silent. Then, a sudden blast. The real city sound exploded back. The distant honk of cars, shouts, sirens. Alex looked up. The alley walls began to ripple like a bad TV signal. The ground shook violently, and the note, burning red, alive in his palm, folded itself away, the words disappearing completely. "Wake up, Alex," the younger him whispered fiercely, "or stay lost forever." Alex felt the world shifting beneath him. Had he been wrong about everything? Was the nightmare not a curse, but a fracture? Not a shadow, but a second chance. He didn't know what was real anymore. But one thing was clear. Nothing was as it seemed. And the real battle, for his mind, for his soul, had just exploded wide open. Alex felt the world shift under his feet, like a sudden drop on a roller coaster. The note, now blank in his hand, seemed to pulse with a silent promise. Something waiting just beneath the surface. His heart hammered against his ribs. The alley no longer felt real, as if it had been waiting to peel back its skin and reveal something darker. From the shadowy edge of the alley, the dozen figures stepped forward, folding into one another until only 3 stayed clear. His mother, Matthew, and the girl who said she was him, or once was. The glow from his mother cast a pale light over the cracked walls, but it did nothing to warm the frozen knot in his chest. "You have to listen," the younger Alex said, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "They lied about everything." Alex opened his mouth, ready to argue, to demand answers, but a sudden commotion burst from the street beyond the alley. A group of police officers spilled into the entrance, shouting orders and flashing lights that painted everything in flickering red and blue. Matthew stepped back, eyes narrowing. What now? Before anyone could react, a hand clamped down on Alex's shoulder. Hard. "Alex Monroe," a cold voice said sharply. "You're—" The girl's fierce eyes turned wide with fear. "Wait," Alex stuttered, wrenching his arm free. "What are you talking about?" But before the officers could answer, another shadow shifted behind them. A figure stepping soberly into the light. The detective who led the squad. Someone Alex vaguely recognized from the news over the years. Then, the truth hit like a punch to the gut. The detective pulled out a badge. Then he looked straight at Alex, and with a voice thick with disbelief, said, "Alex Monroe, or should I say, Michael Sawyer." The name crashed into Alex's ears like glass breaking. "No," Alex whispered. "I'm not." The detective's voice hardened. "Your real identity was buried long ago. We've been after you. The Empire, the deals, the lies, they're all part of something much bigger. You're not who you think you are." The alley became a cage. The rain stopped, heavy silence falling as the glow faded completely. The girl's face twisted in confusion and pain. Michael Sawyer? The name belonged to a man whose face flashed through Alex's memories. Someone ruthless, dangerous, erased, yet never really gone. Matthew stepped forward, fists clenched, shaking his head. It never was just Alex Monroe, the man you think you killed, the empire you thought you built. That was just a cover, a mask painted over Michael's wicked game. The girl folded into herself, voice cracking. He wasn't just the real you. He was the monster you feared more than anything. And now, we're all tangled in his mess. Alex's chest burned. His identity, his memories, his family, it felt like the ground had opened beneath his soul and sucked everything into the abyss. Hands trembling, he dropped the note. The paper fluttered once, then, as if alive, it unraveled, revealing a second message. But this time, it wasn't in writing. It was a photo, a faded, crumpled picture of a small boy. Dark eyes, hopeful smile. Beneath it, scrawled in sharp red letters, "The real Alex Monroe was never born." The silence shattered as sirens blared louder. Police closed in, shouting commands. Alex barely had time to react when the girl grabbed his arm, her voice steady now, urgent. "They took him, took the real Alex, left Michael's nightmare in his place. You're not a man fractured by past lies. You're a ghost trapped in someone else's story." His mind spiraled. A ghost, a lie, an actor in a play with a script he'd never written. "Who am I then?" he gasped, his voice barely a whisper. "Who the hell am I?" But no answer came, only the rain falling hard again, and the cold truth settling like poison in his veins. Because the nightmare wasn't about who he was. It was about who he never was. And that question? It was about to rip everything apart. The alley swallowed his scream. And the city waited, breathless. Alex's scream cracked the silence, swallowed instantly by the choking weight of the alley. The rain hammered down in relentless sheets, each drop a tiny bullet against his skin. His chest felt tight, every breath a jagged shard slicing through his ribs. His identity, Michael Sawyer, Alex Monroe? None of it made sense. None of it felt real. Around him, the police closed in, their boots echoing sharply on the cracked pavement. Faces blurred in the flashing red and blue. Voices overlapping in a harsh, cacophonous chorus of commands and questions. The girl's hand squeezed his arm, sharp and desperate. Then, before Alex could even pull himself together, the ground beneath them shuddered again, deeper, angrier. The earth seemed to groan, a low, sorrowful moan that rattled through the bones of the city. Suddenly, a distant rumble exploded. It grew, expanding. The glowing woman, the one who claimed to be his mother, reappeared, her pallid light flickering like a dying flame. But then, without warning, the street beneath the police cracked open violently. A jagged chasm tore through the concrete, swallowing several officers whole. Screams tore through the chaos. Alex stumbled back, heart racing, mind lost. From the gaping maw of the earth rose a monstrous form, taller and darker than anything fear could conjure. It wasn't human. The thing's skin shimmered with oily blackness, swallowing the light that dared touch it. Its eyes were hollow pits, sucking hope from the air. With a guttural roar, it lashed out. Matthew dove to the side, narrowly escaping a blow that shredded the wall where he'd been seconds before. The girl screamed, not in fear, but pain. Alex's head whipped toward her, flesh rippled and cracked like old paint. From her broken skin emerged the thing's true face. Horrific, not human, but monstrous. A dark mirror of the creature before them. Alex froze. The monster, the girl, locked eyes with him and whispered, "Wake up, Alex." Then, everything shattered. The world flipped inside out. Alex gasped awake. Cold sweat drenched his skin. He blinked against the harsh white light. He was in a sterile room. Walls covered in screens flickering with static. A dozen faces showed, some angry, some relieved. And in the center sat a man in a lab coat, his kind eyes boring into Alex's soul. "You're awake," the man said softly. Alex's head throbbed, memories splintering and faltering. "What's real?" Alex whispered. The doctor smiled, sad. "None of it." Alex's breath hitched. The man continued, voice low and steady. "You've been in a coma for 5 years. Since the accident." Alex's world spun. "Your memories, the empire, the daughter, the shadows, they're constructed. Your mind's way of making sense of the dark." Alex's throat tightened. The doctor leaned forward. "But here's the truth you weren't ready for." The doors hissed open, and in walked Matthew, but not the angry old friend. No scars, no hate, just a calm man, eyes kind. He met Alex's gaze with something softer. "Alex," he said gently, "I'm not your enemy." Alex blinked, confused. Before he could speak, the doctor held a hand up. "There's more." The next thing Alex saw made his blood run cold. On a nearby screen played a video, grainy, raw. A little boy, smiling shyly. The voiceover was familiar, his own, but younger. "Hello, I'm Michael Sawyer, and this is my story." Alexis's heart stopped. Michael Sawyer was a real boy, Matthew explained, but he died years ago. You are part of a program trying to save him, to build a new life inside your mind. Alex shook, fingers trembling. "So, I'm not Michael, not Alex?" Matthew nodded, slow. "You're a fragment, a rebirth. But the darkness, the nightmare, it's the system trying to protect you, to keep you safe from a truth you can't survive." Alex's world imploded. The girl's voice echoed in his mind. "We're not different. Simply, flesh begins to melting into darkness. We're the same." Now it all made tragic, brutal sense. He wasn't battling shadows inside him. He was locked inside himself, a prisoner in a mind fighting to heal, to remember, or to forget forever. Alex swallowed hard. Then, "Who am I?" Matthew looked away, quietly. The doctor's voice broke the silence. "Whoever you want to be." But the question wasn't gone. It had only just begun. Alex's hands shook hard as he sat up in the sterile white room. The pain in his chest was sharp, real, the kind that hammered at him like a warning. He blinked against the harsh light, trying to grasp the pieces slipping through his mind. The man in the lab coat, calm and steady, watched him closely. "You're awake. That nightmare, it was your mind trying to break free," the doctor said softly. "You've been trapped in layers of memories. None were real." Alex's breath hitched. The flood of confusion crashed again. The girl, Matthew, the shadows, they were all fragments, shadows inside his mind, trying to push through. He swallowed slowly, heart pounding. "So none of it happened? The deals, the daughter, the fight?" The doctor nodded. "That life was a creation, a cage to hold you when the real world was too far away." The door slid open silently. Matthew stepped in. Not the angry man from the nightmares, but something gentler, almost hopeful. His eyes held no fury, just something quiet and sad. "Alex," Matthew said, voice low but steady, "I've been here all along, helping you find your way back." Alex's jaw clenched. The grief hit his chest again, cold and heavy. "Who am I then, if I'm not Alex Monroe or Michael Sawyer?" Matthew's gaze didn't waver. "You're someone still fighting. Not a name, not a lie. You're a soul learning to heal." Tears pricked Alex's eyes. The weight inside him was crushing, but a tiny flicker of something warmer broke through. The idea of a fresh start, fragile and real. Outside the door, the girl appeared, no longer frail, but whole. Her eyes locked on his, fierce but soft. "We're part of the same thing," she said quietly. "Not enemies, not shadows. Pieces trying to be made right." Alex reached out a trembling hand. She took it after a heartbeat. The room felt smaller, The hum of machines softened into silence. Yet somewhere deep inside, something stirred. A question, a promise. "Where do we go now?" Alex whispered, voice breaking. Matthew smiled a little, stepping toward the door. "Forward, whatever that means." The girl squeezed his hand. Together. Behind them, the city lights flickered faintly beyond the hospital window. Somewhere out there, life moved on. A world waiting to be reclaimed. Alex's chest tightened. Pain and hope tangled fierce like fire and ice. The past might be a storm, but maybe, just maybe, the future wasn't lost. The question still hung in the air, sharp as a blade. Who is he really? And could he ever be whole? The door closed softly behind them. The screen fades. Now listen closely. You need to subscribe right now to this channel so you don't miss these epic stories unraveling every week. Seriously, don't wait. You want to be here when the next chapter drops. It's that intense. Smash that like button right now. That one tap? It pushes this story into the spotlight, helps more people find it. You want this. I know it. Flood the comments below. Tell me what you think about the ending. Was Alex really lost? Who do you think he is now? I want every thought, theory, every gut reaction. This community thrives on you. But most of all, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Don't wait even one more second. They have to experience it. Only true fans get how important it is to support the channel with these moves. So what are you waiting for? Hit subscribe, smash like, comment your heart out, and share this right now. I'll see you in the next story. And trust me, it's going to blow your mind.